It's 38 days to election 2020. Hello and welcome to the Midday News with me, Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah. This bulletin is coming to you live from Joy 99.7 FM in Accra, at digital address GA0993341. Also on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi. Affiliates across the country, including ATL FM, Cape Coast, Radio Max, Takrade, and around the world at myjoyonline.com. Coming up, new pre-election survey by CDD Ghana reveals governing MPP enjoys significant advantage over opposition NDC on public confidence in ability to deliver on campaign promises. We'll tell you more as it reveals 45% of Ghanaians are worried violence may affect the integrity of the polls, and more than 80 Ivorians crossed Ghanaian border into Ampain refugee camp in the western region, fleeing to safety as tension builds up in their country, which goes to the polls tomorrow.
2 days now I didn't sleep because I fear for my family. They are afraid. Sisters call me, they want to come.
We'll hear from a security analyst who is not ruling out violence in the polls. And Senior Minister Yawa Safo-Mafo no longer required to refund $1 million to the state as High Court rules. Auditor General Daniel Domelovo did not abide by the rules of natural justice in Kroll and Associates controversy. We'll bring you details and speak to an anti-corruption coalition.
Ghana Football Association President Keto Kweku endorses Joy Sports GPL Primer and the GPL transfer countdown. I'll tell you all about it later in sports. And
discover all the thrills on the Joy News channel this weekend with exciting shows from AutoZone for car lovers to The Probe, the platform for you to engage with newsmakers.
This is the most authoritative news analysis platform.
We get to visit an art gallery and feel the experience. That's it for tonight's edition of The Probe.
And later, Shatawale fan Trotro driver abandons passengers in the middle of the road to meet his hero.
Oh, and if God bless him, one day, God willingly, I promise him, and I want to tell him that this is how I'm doing. Monday, this car will load free transport. Free transport? Yes, because, yes. From Accra to New Accra, it will be from 6 to 6. I promised to do it, and I will do it. So, God willingly, Monday, everybody hearing me.
Do stay for details of that and more right here on the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM. This is your election headquarters. Stands for your company. The details now. A pre-election survey by the Center for Democratic Development has revealed the governing MPP enjoys significant advantage over the opposition NDC when it comes to public confidence in the ability to deliver on campaign promises. There is, however, disagreement on the part of Ghanaians on whether or not the country is heading in the right direction. The survey further reveals there are concerns regarding possible violence during the elections, leading to calls for armed security men at polling stations. Dr. Kojo Asante of the CDD Ghana explains further.
Yes, 71% expressed a preference for armed security at the polling station. On election day. I mean, this is the first time we're seeing that kind of expression. I think in 2016, it was very clear that we didn't want armed police security at the polling station, but it does reflect a certain concern about the prospect of violence on election day. And I think that it's coming up now. It's an opportunity for us to look at it very carefully and see what is the best way to ensure the security or to make sure that people can feel safe at the polling station, but also ensure that we do not, in solving that problem, we don't create opportunities for violence to happen. Because having armed guards there, if you have a little skirmish and unfortunately something happened, there could be a discharge of weapon. So I mean, the security agencies, this is really for them to think about it. But I think for citizens, there's obviously a concern about election day violence, and this is the reason why we do the survey, so that those kinds of concerns, when they come out, we can deal with them.
You heard that Dr. Kojo Asante, he's with the CDD. Now, Deputy Head of our political desk, Winston Amwa, joins me in studio with more on that pre-election survey by the CDD. Winston, what are the key findings?
Well, so Bernice, according to the report, assessments of the performance of the Akufo-Addo and NPP governments are broadly positive, and they get particularly high grades for their handling of the COVID crisis, electricity and education. The public is, however, less impressed with the administration's handling of inflation, bridging inequality and curbing corruption. And also the fact that Ghanaians are split on the direction of the company, while almost half, that's 47%, say the country is going in the right direction. The same proportion, that's 47%, say the country is heading in the wrong direction. And also, concerns with, considerable apprehension about violence by party and candidate supporters, and thus remain concerned about the activities of these party vigilantes, which is underscored by the desire of 8 in 10 respondents in the survey calling for armed security personnel present at the polling stations. And finally, it says that the NPP enjoys a significant advantage, that's 15 percentage points over the NDC when it comes to public confidence in the ability to deliver on campaign promises.
Winston, so run us through the methodology.
Well, according to the CDD, every adult citizen had an equal chance of being selected for the 2020 pre-election survey. A nationally representative sample of 2,400 adults were randomly selected, and the sample is distributed across regions and urban-rural areas in proportions to their share in the national adult population. And face-to-face interviews were conducted in the language of the respondent's choice. So a standard English questionnaire was translated into Twi, Ewe, Ga, Dagbani, and Dagari, and the sample size of 2,400 yields a margin of error of plus or minus 2.
Thank you very much. Winston Amwa is head of our political desk, giving us details of that pre-election survey conducted by the CDD. Still on election-related matters, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is the definition of insanity. Strong words over there from the flag bearer of the Convention People's Party, Ivor Greenstreet, as he makes a pitch to Ghanaians to consider the CPP in the upcoming elections. According to him, giving the NDC and MPP another chance at governing the country will be irrational. Mr. Ivor Greenstreet has been speaking at the launch of his party's manifesto, which is still ongoing at the party's headquarters.
The depth of the national crisis into which the P and the NDC MPP have plunged us demands that the good people of Ghana muster the courage and give them an electric shock on the 7th of December. Some people say that trying the same thing over and over again without success and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. We have tried the NDC and NPP on 7 occasions since 1992, and neither party has lived up even to our most reasonable expectations, let alone their grand promises. It would be irrational for us either to try the NDC or the NPP again.
Apologies for that, but Ivor Greenstreet is flag bearer of the CPP. He's also been outlining a number of promises he says hold the key to Ghana's success, including freezing ex gratia payments to all Article 71 office holders and giving state support for the creation of factories. And he's been speaking at the launch of his party's manifesto. Michael Kweku Asante is there and joins us with more. What other issues has the CPP been raising, Kweku?
Well, so today's manifesto launch of the CPP has been focusing largely on the 2 dominant parties in Ghana, the NPP and the NDP. According to flag bearer of CPP, Mr. Ivor Greenstreet, the NDP have thrown Ghana into an abyss where only CPP can take us out. So they've been saying, for instance, that they've been listing a couple of the problems that we have. There is mass unemployment, underemployment. They say graduate unemployment, there's market failure, there's depression.
Hello, Kweku. Sorry, I have to interrupt. It's quite difficult hearing you. If it's possible, kindly reposition yourself and just wrap up what you were just telling us.
Can you hear me?
much better.
Yeah, so the PDP has been listing a couple of the problems they say have been caused by the dominant duopoly of the NDC and MPP. According to them, the sure best and the surest way of putting Ghana back on the path of success, as they say their founder and former leader, Kwame Nkrumah, put Ghana on, is to elect Ivor Greenstreet to take the reins of governance.
But it's less than 40 days to the elections. Have they been telling you what accounted for the delay in the launch of their manifesto?
Well, according to PPP chairperson, they have actually been on the ground trying to talk to people to solicit their views in terms of what they want the future Ghanaian government to do for them. And so while they apologize for the delays that, of course, they think that because of the things they have had to go through to be able to put together the manifesto, they really believe that even though it's just a little less than 40 days to the election, there's still enough time to be able to put out their programs and ideas for the Ghanaian public to judge.
Finally, Kweku, we understand they want Ghanaians to give the NDC and MPP an electric shock in half, and they've been demonstrating what they mean by that.
Well, yes. So today they brought two men painted in MPP and NDC colors and actually put some wires in the boxer shorts and then generated something, and all of them fell to the ground to demonstrate that Ghanaians need to do something to kick out the NPP and NDC. And they've been doing a lot of demonstrations here, which will be shown to our viewers in subsequent bulletins of this.
Thank you very much. Kweku Asante is at that launch for us. The CPP has just launched its manifesto, but the NDC's flag bearer is still on a tour of the Greater Accra region. My colleague Manuel Kranting has been following him. Hello, Manuel. What can you report?
Yeah, so the train took off this morning and then landed at the palace of the Nungwa Paramount Chief Odafio Wellenchi III. The former president has been asking for his blessing and promising that if he wins power, he's going to, as it were, complete all uncompleted projects that were started under his administration have been abandoned now.
Manuel Kranting is my colleague here joining us, giving us some updates on the tour of the NDC's flag bearer of the Greater Accra region. We're still on elections, but this time not in Ghana. More than 80 Ivorians have crossed the Ghanaian border into the main refugee camp in the western region town of Ampeng this month alone, fleeing to safety. Ivory Coast goes to the polls Saturday, October 31, in a crucial election where incumbent Alassane Ouattara has forced through a constitutional change to enable him run for a third term amidst widespread protest. This comes exactly 10 years after the disputed election of 2010, which left over 3,000 persons dead. John News' Justice Beidou has been to the Ampeng refugee camp to gauge the mood of the people ahead of the elections.
Inside this church building made of raffia, hands are raised in prayer. It's 2 days before presidential elections in Ivory Coast. 10 years ago, when a similar poll happened, more than 3,000 people were killed. Those here were part of the thousands who fled for their lives. They have been living in Ghana since then.
I just pray. 2 days now I didn't sleep because I fear for my family.
This is the Ampeng refugee camp. More than 1,000 people live here. It's one of 3 that were built to receive Ivorian refugees during the country's war of 2010.
And for my country, if the election was not passed well, it means that I'll do maybe 10 years again.
Natasha Ba-Ibo is showing me photos people have sent her from home. She claims these are pictures of those who were butchered on the streets of Abidjan for protesting President Alassane Ouattara's decision to run for a third term.
2 days now I didn't sleep because I fear for my family. They are afraid. They are afraid. And most of my friends, my sisters call me. They want to come, but they close the border, so they don't know where they can pass to come. Many of people, when they reach the border, they can't pass because they don't have money, or they just tell them to go back. They want to save their life and they tell them to go back. It's not easy.
Justice Beidou, Joy News, Ampeng refugee camp.
Well, three other candidates are contesting in the Ivorian elections. They include Henry Konan Bedi, 86, leader of the Democratic Party of Ivory Coast, Pascal Afingwe's son, 67, who heads the Ivorian Popular Front, and Kodio Konan Burton, 50, the only independent candidate, and obviously there's the incumbent President Ouattara. Meanwhile, UN Senior Mediation Advisor Emmanuel Bombande is not ruling out violence in tomorrow's polls. He says the country will emerge even more divided after the elections. He spoke on the AM show on the Joe News channel earlier today.
For us, the implications are huge. Keep in mind, we're talking about the third largest economy in West Africa. It's very interesting to see and to observe what is happening, because as you rightly described the position of the opposition parties, the attitude is to go full out in a civil disobedience posture. And you never know how that violence then could erupt. Now, the situation is so tense that you can never predict the extent to which the violence cumulatively now begins to snowball and to roll over.
You heard the UN Senior Mediation Advisor Emmanuel Bombande speaking on the Ivorian elections, which happens tomorrow. But back in Ghana, minority MPs are asking the Speaker to summon Interior Minister Ambrose Derry and EC boss Jane Mensah to brief MPs on preparedness ahead of the December 7 elections. The House is expected to adjourn proceedings indefinitely next week, Saturday, for the elections. MP for South Dai, Roxanne Dafiamepo, who spoke on the floor, is also raising concern there are too many bills the House has to deal with ahead of the elections.
We need to have the majority of members be around to be able to participate in some of these bills. I fear that the skeletal membership of the House now, and the fact that we are being pushed to pass this bill into legislation, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge the majority leader to prioritize one or two, so that when we return, then we can come back and deal with some of these very, very important legislation.
You have MP for South Dai, Roxanne Dafiamepo. Our correspondent in Parliament, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, joins us with more. Joseph, what has been the response of leadership to the MP's concerns?
On the bit about the bills that are out for approval, in fact, there are about 7 of them that the House will deal with before they go on their break, and the majority leader made the point that yes, they'll try to prioritize it, because getting all the 7 through would mean passing a bill a day over the next 1 week. On the bit about the request for the Interior Minister to brief MPs on security ahead of elections, the majority leader said there's been a conversation on that at the level of a meeting that was organized by the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs, but they will consider that bit about the security officials briefing MPs generally. And also the bit about the Electoral Commission board, he says these are busy times for them, but they will consider if their schedule will permit it so they can brief MPs.
Thank you very much. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo there joining us from Parliament. Away from Parliament and election-related news, Senior Minister Yaw Safo Mafo is no longer required to refund $1 million to the state. This is because an Accra High Court has ruled in his favor, setting aside the surcharge imposed on him and other officials at the Ministry of Finance. The Auditor General, Daniel Demelovo, had cited them for paying auditing firm Kroll & Associates $1 million for no work done, aside from not obtaining approval from Parliament and the Public Procurement Authority for the contract. The senior minister headed to court to challenge this, and the court has agreed with him. Court correspondent Joseph Akable joins us with more. Now, we know at the time this matter started, Joseph, Mr. Domilovo was in the thick of affairs, but his deputy took over when he was asked to proceed on leave. Bring us up to speed on how this impacted the case and the conclusion the court reached.
And so at the High Court, lawyers for the senior minister had asked that aspects of the case be heard in chambers since the work done by Kroll & Associates was being used by the Ministry of National Security. The High Court referred this question to the Supreme Court for a determination on whether or not it should be granted. Before the Apex Court ruled on it, it had asked that the Auditor General inspects the documents. It was at this stage that Mr. Domilovo proceeded on leave, with the Acting Auditor General, Johnson Esiedu-Ekwama, taking over. He actually carried out the inspection and wrote back to the Supreme Court, informing it that he was satisfied with the work that had been done. And so the Supreme Court did not answer the question, saying that it was moot since the Auditor General hadn't indicated he was satisfied. This was communicated to the High Court and it formed the basis for the decision. The court also said that the minister had indicated in a letter to the Auditor General that the documents were available for inspection, but Mr. Domelevo did not carry out this inspection. That was prior to the case going to court, and so the court said proceeding to issue the surcharge without turning down the offer amounted to a breach of the rules of natural justice, in that it didn't give the senior minister a fair hearing.
Joseph Akable is court correspondent. Now we will speak to Adam Senanu, who is with the Citizen Movement Against Corruption. Thanks for your time this afternoon, sir. Perception is key when fighting corruption. Are you impressed with how this matter has turned out, knowing well that the man who insisted no work has been done to merit the payment was asked to proceed on leave?
Absolutely not. I think that we have a difficulty here because ideally, if Mr. Domelevo had been the one to do the inspection and then weighed the level of work against the quantum of money paid and told us that, yes, every bit of money paid is commensurate with the level of work I have seen, I'm sure that this matter would have been properly settled. At the moment, one wonders whether the acting Auditor General, in saying he's satisfied, is saying that not only was work done, but the work done is commensurate with what the people of Ghana have had to pay, and the people so contracted were properly contracted to do this work for us. It leaves many questions. So, no.
So, Mr. Senanu, what impression do you think this creates about even just the Office of the Auditor General with regards to these two key personalities and what they think about this particular case?
I think it leaves confusion in our minds. The matter has not been clearly resolved. With the acting Auditor General saying he's completely satisfied, many of us who have not cited the documentation will be wondering, what exactly did he see? And did he have the technical capacity? Did he have the technical officers along with him, quantity, whatever, specialists who can draw the conclusion that make all of us satisfied? It would seem to me that unless we have an independent professional group go look at this matter again, it's one of those things that we'll just think that government did not do well.
I appreciate your time this afternoon. Adam Senanu is with the Citizen Movement Against Corruption. Joseph Akable is still here with me. CDD Fellow in Public Law and Justice, Professor Stephen Asari, who is in court challenging the appointment of Johnson Asiedu as Acting Auditor General, has been reacting to this case. What's he been saying, Joseph?
He says the Supreme Court erred when it recognized Johnson Asiedu as the Acting Auditor General, and it's no surprise that it amounted to a poisoned lake, which he says the High Court drank from by proceeding to rely on documents coming from this Acting Auditor General, whom he says lacks the legal mandate to conclude that some work has been done.
Thank you very much, Joseph. You're listening to the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM with me, Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah. Still to come, discover all the thrills on the Joy News channel this weekend with exciting shows from AutoZone for car lovers to The Probe, the platform for you to engage with newsmakers. And later, we'll be telling you about that trotro driver who is a Shatawale fan who decided to abandon his passengers in the middle of the road just to meet his hero. Do stay with us.
Fellow Ghanaians, through planting for food and jobs, food is available and prices are relatively cheaper for us all. Farmers can dream of a better future for themselves and their families. This December, remember your vote will make a difference in the life of a farmer and make food affordable for you and us all. Let's protect our progress. Vote NPP. Vote Nana Akufo-Addo for 4 more years to do more for you.
My network is really killing me. I have to pay my uncle's workers mobile money, but the charges alone, it's about 380 cedis. Charges alone just to send money? That's $10 of cement already, my guy. Listen, bro, you can save money on charges if you move to Vodafone Cash now. Vodafone Cash? But my network is hey. Sending money on that your network, you pay. Sending money on your network to other networks, you pay. But guess what? Sending money on Vodafone Cash is free. Sending money on Vodafone Cash to all other networks is also absolutely free. No charges at all on Vodafone Cash. So tell me, what are you still doing on that your network? Massa, look sharp, then move to Vodafone Cash. Hey, make a change the SIM right now. Yes, sending money on Vodafone Cash to all other networks is now absolutely free. Send unlimited amounts of money as many times as you like for free. Just dial *110# now to send money.
The future is exciting. Ready?
Many people have lost their jobs since 2017. The next NDC government, led by John Mahama and Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, will work hard to provide jobs for all. Here is our plan. Under our Ejumapa policy, we will create a minimum of 250,000 decent and sustainable jobs every year. That's a minimum of 1 million permanent and well-paying jobs. Jumapa, in 4 years in the financial services sector, such as banking and insurance, construction, agriculture and agribusiness, ICT, oil and gas, pharmaceuticals, tourism, tree crops, waste management and sanitation, and coastal landscape and forest management, among others. Those who also want to learn a craft will be enrolled under the NDC's state-sponsored National Apprenticeship Program. We will also give them the tools kit needed to start their businesses upon completion of their apprenticeship. NAPCO beneficiaries will also be made permanent public sector workers. This is our plan for jobs. Vote John Mahama. Vote NDC.
Thanks for staying on the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. It's now time for sports with Hans.
Ghana Football Association President Keto Kweku has commended Joy Sports for the GPL Primer and the GPL Transfer Countdown shows. The GPL Primer and Transfer Countdown shows are meant to whip up interest ahead of the new Ghana Premier League season.
I'm happy about this development. Again, it points to the creativity and the passion levels that you have at multimedia. And the fact that you always want to be one step ahead of the entire nation. Our Football Association will be very supportive of this. Our clubs are very busy. Naturally, the Ghanaian, in quote, loves to do late deals, especially in the football industry. And most of the clubs in the Premier League, in Division 1, and even in the Women Premier League are very active. I know of a few clubs who are going to make big announcements soon. And no, you're not coming from Dreams FC, so don't worry. So let's be on the lookout, and I'll be listening, and I'll be watching.
So that was Ghana Football Association President Keto Kweku, and the first of the GPL Primer is on 10 p.m. on the Joy News channel. I'll be hosting Accra Heart of Folk tonight.
Phobia. All right. The Joy News channel will be lit this weekend with all the exciting programs from MotorZone, a show for car lovers, to The Probe, a platform giving you the opportunity to engage with newsmakers. Hannah Odami tells you why you should tune in.
On AutoZone, discover the latest and most affordable model of Toyota. Just good for every pocket. That's at 4:30 p.m. every Saturday. Earlier in the day at 9 a.m., Samson Larry Ayeneni will host a crack team of experts to review the week's major stories on Newsfile.
This is the most authoritative news analysis platform.
He comes again with The Law, a show highlighting legal perspectives on everything you would want to know. Then at 4:30 p.m., the lifestyle show Outlook comes away with Na Ajele Doku.
We get to visit an art gallery and feel the experience.
Later at 7:30 p.m., you and Emefa Apau will ask the critical questions on The Probe, a show which gives Ghanaians the opportunity to interrogate issues.
I would want to find out what's the next step, what are the plans in place. That's it for tonight's edition of The Probe.
That's a wrap of the weekend programming on the Joy News channel. Tune in.
We will tune in, hope you will too. Now, passengers from La Paz to Accra Central had their journey cut short in front of Joy FM. Maps is here to tell us what happened.
Now, the driver of the vehicle, Emmanuel Akadofo, who heard that musician Satawale was visiting sister station Hits FM, diverted his vehicle into the Fanafa Road in Kokomemle and told passengers to disembark. And then he instructed his mates to refund them the lorry fare. Although they protested, he refused to move the vehicle and even took off his shirt. Listen to this.
Close for the day. Oh, and if God bless him, Monday, God willingly, I promise him, and I want to tell him that this is how I'm doing. Monday, this car will load free transport. Yes, because from Accra to New Accra, from 6 to 6. I promise to do it, and I will do it. So God willingly, Monday, everybody hearing me, my car owner, consider me, I know that I will do it for you. Minnesota, it's a boy, my yeah, it's my promise. I beg Monday coming. Oh, be free from 6 to 6. That's the promise I will do. Monday coming.
Wow.
And lucky for him, he made Shatawale.
Oh, wow. Muff, that's interesting. Do you have a fan who loves you that much?
Please, do I have a fan? People are listening. Do I have a fan?
And that's how we end this edition of the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. Our top story, new pre-election survey by CDD Ghana reveals governing MPP enjoys significant advantage over opposition NDC on public confidence and ability to deliver on campaign promises. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I really appreciate your company here on Joy 99.7 FM. I'm Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah. Please don't go away. We've got business at 1, and also shortly we'll hear from Dr. Mensa Otapel from Generation to Generation.